Good evening. Welcome to Tales from the Tour 2026. It is officially Waste Management Week Open, or as they call it, WM Open now. So we can get louder. We can get a little rowdier than that. Come on, one more time. That's much better. I think we're ready for the tournament. These guys are going to be prepped. By the time they get to the 16th hole, you guys are going to be so loud, it's going to be perfect for them. But my name is Zach Vogel. I am the Executive Director for Identity Sports. On behalf of Identity Sports, thank you again for being here. This night would not be possible without our incredible partner in Scottsdale Bible. We have the campus pastor for Shea right here in Ryan Global. Ryan, tell us a little bit, yes. Tell us about SBC, and if someone is here for the first time, how can you get connected at SBC?
Yeah, I couldn't be happier to have Identity Sports here this evening. It's a great event that y'all been putting on for years, and we just love having you guys in the house. You get to talk about Jesus, the tour, and just how the two intersect, and also how it intersects with our lives. But SBC is doing incredible things because Jesus is incredible. And so through him here at SBC, we've got a vibrant men's ministry that can speak to you wherever you're at in your adulthood as a man. We have a great women's ministry for all the moms and women out there. We've got young adults, we've got marriage ministry, we've got something for everybody, and we would love to have you come out. The place that we would love for you to go check out, if you're interested, is our website, connectsbc.com. It's your one-stop shop for all things SBC. I say that every single Sunday, and it's something I would love for you to get connected. You can fill out a connect card there. You can have a prayer request there. We would love to get to know you. This is a safe place and a home for you, but welcome. We're thrilled to have this event here tonight.
Yes, give another round of applause for SBC.
Thanks, guys. Have a great time.
They have been such incredible partners, opening up their doors for us every year. Since 2006, we've been putting on this event. So it's just awesome to see what God is doing. I want to say a quick thank you to some of our other amazing sponsors that help make this event free. Helps us, the Chick-fil-A. Hopefully you guys got some yummy Chick-fil-A out there. Yeah, that was a hit? Okay. Yeah, so glad you guys got to enjoy that. But I want to say thank you to one of our biggest sponsors for tonight, Dunnick Golf. Judd should be here in the house, but they are the premier golf course builder. They've done an amazing work. If you want to check them out and see some of the amazing courses that they've worked on. But they are a huge reason as to why we are here tonight. I also want to say thank you to Fig Tree Golf. If you didn't see, these hats that I'm wearing here, they are available for purchase at the table out there. So if you don't have one yet, be sure to check it out. Fig Tree Golf is super cool because it is a way to start a conversation on the golf course about Jesus while also looking cool and feeling cool. It keeps you cool on the course. So it's a win-win in all categories. So thank you again, Fig Tree Golf. We also have some amazing other partners out there in Jesus One apparel. You see all these NFL players, these guys wearing these Jesus One shirts. That is those guys out in the back, so make sure you're up. They have all the different sports teams and player things, and proceeds from those actually go to different charities that are represented with that athlete. So really cool what they're doing. So check them out. Check out Paladin Sports if you're looking for Christian coaching, a really fun way to get your youth signed up for these different sports camps and leagues. And we also have Family Life Radio out there, Run Home Camps, which is a foster care and group home camp, baseball camp that you can actually partake. I had the pleasure of doing that a couple years ago. See how you get involved in there as well. And Links Players is here as well. And so one of the things, if you've been to these in the past, you have had the blessing of seeing one of our hosts up here, and Jeff Cranford, who is the president and CEO of Links Players. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight in the building, but we wanted to make sure that he hears our thank you for everything that he has done and helping Tales continue to grow and get to the point. So give a round of applause for Jeff Cranford. Yes, and so if you're wondering, okay, what does Identity Sports actually do? So our mission is to help athletes and sports fans around the world find their true identity in Christ. So many times as athletes, we find it in success, in the next trophy, the goalposts always seem to move when you get to that next level, don't they? And so we want to help them understand that true fulfillment is in a relationship with Jesus Christ. And so we do live events just like this with Tales from the Tour. When spring training rolls around, we also have Tales from the Dugout, which, if you guessed it, is the same thing but with baseball players. Pretty crazy. But we have some defending World Series champions that will be joining us in Alex Call, Blake Trinan, little NL West rivalry. We got the catcher, two-time Gold Glover Patrick Bailey for the San Francisco Giants. And we also have a co-host along with myself and Aaron Sleggers, who is an MLB veteran as well. That will be at Impact Church this year. So make sure you get registered, find more details, and hope to see you there on February 16th. And then the last thing tonight is, what's the point, right? So you probably have seen marketing for this labeled, what's the point? Kind of a funny thing if we're trying to get people to come to this event and we're saying, hey, what's the point? You know, what's the point of coming tonight? Why are we doing something like this? We want to answer that question tonight. And we have an amazing panel tonight. If you didn't know, they have over 76 combined professional wins amongst them. Pretty impressive, right? Yeah, give a hand. So if anyone is going to talk about success, fulfillment, and answer what's the point, I think these guys have maybe earned the right. And we're going to add one more win, one more professional win to that. We're going to make it 77 right here, right now, tonight, and I need your guys' help with that. If you have a bucket, go ahead and stand up real fast. Let me see these buckets. We got one over here, 2, and 3. You guys are going to be super crucial here in a minute. These players are actually going to come on stage, and they're going to chip into those buckets for our annual Tails Cup. So hopefully you guys in the front row brought some helmets. I'm just kidding. These are professionals. Scotty Scheffler did maybe hit someone before a couple years ago. Yeah. Yeah, so he's here. He's alive. Yes. Thank you. Stand up. Yes. This man took a golf ball from Scotty Scheffler and lived to tell the tale. You will live. Yes, we call it the Scotty insurance, so we do have insurance, so we make sure that we have that now. They are not real golf balls. They are foam, so it won't hurt too bad if you get hit. But we are so excited. So please turn your attention to the screens as we welcome our first guest for the night.
I feel like he's one of the most experienced caddies out there, so that's why I rely on him more than you typically see.
Eyes from Mr. Paul Tesori. All right, you're doing this on that hand.
Webb Simpson can add the title Players Champion to the resume. What a performance. For the win. Wow. Oh, what a stroke. What a win. A super Sunday for Webb Simpson. Webb Simpson is the 2012 United States Open champion.
Put your hands together for Mr. Webb Simpson. That middle one there.
Yes, well done.
That looks pretty good. Oh, boy.
Comes to the last, tied for the lead at 14 under, this to win it. And Tom Lehman drops the putter on the ground as the birdie putt falls. He wins the Encompass Championship at 15 under par.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Tom Lehman. All right, you'll be this chair right there.
Win the tournament. Hit a slam it shot right here. What a pot. Bads is back.
I want to play on the US Tour and be the best on earth.
Pretty simple pitch.
slope. Should be able to stop it no problem. That'll stop it every time. Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, our co-host for the night, Aaron Baddeley. All right, thank you guys again for being here. So we are going to explain the rules now. So if you have those buckets, please stand up again. Please stand up with the buckets. There we go. Awesome. So you guys see these buckets? We got one on the left side over here. You got it? Okay. We got the one on the left. We got a guy right here in the white hat. I do have a rangefinder. You know what, Paul? This is good. We got a caddy up here. This is different for him. So, Paul, why I explain the rules? Why don't you give us the distances here? Yeah, I think you got to step it up. Yeah, we got about 300 yards to that guy over there. Maybe take a driver, 7-iron, something like that. Guys hit it so far these days. But so each one of you guys, so Paul, if you guys think Paul is going to win, put your hands together. Yeah? You hear this? If you think Webb is going to win, put your hands together. If you got Mr. Tom Lehman, put your hands together. Uh-oh. I think we might have a favorite. Awesome. Okay. Well, they are going to have 3 balls, and they are going to chip into one of these buckets. Each bucket they make is worth 1 point. To add an extra incentive, if you make it in all 3 buckets, you get 1 bonus point. You think guys ready? You think you can do this? They're foam golf balls. Yes.
Caddies should get double points. You didn't see a single highlight of any shots I hit up there. Not one.
You were a very accomplished player as well. But Paul, you will be our first guest, so step up. These will be the coolest shots that these clubs will ever see. Yes, they're my clubs. They don't get to see much action. So Paul, here we go.
I'm the caddy and I have to go first. This is great.
Lead the way. It's go time. Ooh, little juice, little extra juice there.
It goes farther. Yeah. I just kind of hit it the same way I just did.
Oh, that looks good. Ooh, just a little extra juice.
Good try.
See, if only someone shot the distances before. Count it. We got one on the board. We know it's possible. We know it can be done. Webb, fresh from the practice round today. How's the course looking today? Course is good. Gonna be a lot of fun. Oh, count it. We'll count it. That went in. That's 1. There we go, 2. See, this is great. Greens are firm. Yep. No, you get a full point. Did we get it? Did we get it? There it is, on the juggle. 3 points. Mr. Webb Simpson gets a bonus. We got 4. That's the one to beat, Tom.
Okay, so how many senior golfers do we have here? We all have the chipping gift, right?
Ooh. Hey, these are some of the best chips I have ever seen in cowboy boots. These are the best chips I've ever seen in cowboy boots. Shot number 2. Ooh. All right. Shot number 3 for all the marbles. It is deep, it is far, it is in. We got 1 point. I'll take the club from you. Good job. All right. Webb, I got one of the coolest trophies you will ever receive. The Tails Cup. Yes, raise it high. Paul knew. We did, if you haven't checked it, we did a podcast with Paul a while back. He actually said that he still has his trophy from when he won.
I've gotten rid of every trophy from high school and college and everything else, and I still have this one. But no, I won't have two now.
I still need a picture. I don't know if I believe that.
You can put that one by the U.S. Open trophy just to show you.
Can you hold this for me tonight?
That's really cool.
Yeah. You got to hold that the entire time. No, but man, thank you guys again for being here. It's such an honor to have you guys here. One thing that we do want to do before we get into the interviews, when we talk about this what's the point thing, this is something that we have been praying about and thinking through and talking about as a ministry. And, you know, last summer, it really just kind of hit a peak of what is the point, something that happened at the British Open. If we can go back and play this clip from the British Open, there's a famous guy that's talking about what is the point here.
It feels like you work your whole life to celebrate winning a tournament for like a few minutes. It only lasts a few minutes, that kind of euphoric feeling. And like to win the Byron Nelson Championship at home, I literally worked my entire life to become good at golf, to have an opportunity to win that tournament. And you win it, you celebrate, get to hug my family, my sister's there. It's such an amazing moment. And then it's like, okay, now what are we gonna eat for dinner? I'm not here to inspire somebody else to be the best player in the world, because what's the point? You know, this is not a fulfilling life. It's fulfilling from the sense of accomplishment, but it's not fulfilling from a sense of like the deepest, you know, places of your heart. You know, there's a lot of people that make it to what they thought was gonna fulfill them in life, and then you get there and all of a sudden you get to number one in the world, and then they're like, what's the point? And, you know, I really do believe that, because, you know, what is the point? You're like, why do I want to win this tournament so bad? That's something that I wrestle with on a daily basis. It's like showing up at the Masters every year. It's like, why do I want to win this golf tournament so badly? Why do I want to win the Open Championship so badly? I don't know. Because if I win, it's going to be awesome for about 2 minutes. And then we're going to get to the next week, and it's going to be like, hey, you won 2 majors this year. How important is it for you to win the FedEx Cup playoffs? And it's just like, we're back here again, you know? So we really do. We work so hard for such little moments. And, you know, I'm kind of a sicko. I love putting in the work. I love being able to practice. I love getting out to live out my dreams. But at the end of the day, sometimes I just don't understand the point, you know, because I don't know if I'm making any sense or not, but am I not?
And with that, Aaron, our co-host for tonight, let's go ahead and kick off and answer this question of what's the point tonight.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting interview that he had there and the comments that he made. I know there was a lot of people were talking about it afterwards, because you have the best player on the planet right now by far saying, like, what's the point, you know? It sort of made me think about in the Old Testament, in the book of Ecclesiastes, King Solomon, the wisest man pretty much to ever walk the earth, and he sort of asked the same question, and he actually devoted his life to figuring out what's the point, like what's it all about. And he said there was nothing he didn't do, there was nothing he didn't try. He tried everything, did everything, bought everything, you name it, he tried it. And he got to the end and he's like, this is pointless, you know? Like, he starts off the book by saying, vanity of vanities, everything is vanity. Basically saying everything is meaningless. But then he also writes in Ecclesiastes, he says that to enjoy what God has given you, your family, your friends, your job, the things that God's blessed you with, to enjoy that, that's a gift from God. And so, yes, there's questions that are deep in our heart, but also there's a gift from God, and that is to enjoy what he's given you. And so I'm excited to talk to these guys tonight, because these three men that are sitting here, these three guys there's not many guys who I go to ask for advice, who I trust wholeheartedly, and these three men are at the top of the list. I've called all of these guys, whether it's about golf, whether it's about life, whether it's about walking with Jesus. I've spoken to all these three guys about those three things. So I'm excited to talk to these guys, hear a bit more about their story, and I'm excited for you guys to hear from them too. So thanks for being here, boys. So I want to start with you, Tom. You call Scottsdale home now, but you grew up in Minnesota. Talk about when you growing up in Minnesota and about golf, and was there other sports you played because of obviously the weather and the seasons? Talk to us a little bit about your growing up.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. What a privilege and an opportunity that I have looked forward to now for a couple of weeks since you called, Baz, to be here. So thanks for coming out and sharing this night with us. And I think this whole idea about what's the point, I think we're going to have a great discussion about that because there's so many things you can say. But in answer to your question, I did grow up in Minnesota, and I'm 66, nearly 67, so I grew up in the age where you played multiple sports. I played baseball and golf in the summer, and I played football in the fall, basketball in the winter, and then waited for the grass to show up sometime in the spring to get back on the golf course. So I was a 4-month-of-the-year golfer back then. That's really about it, all the way until I got into college, and then I went to the University of Minnesota, and I was about a 6-month-of-the-year golfer, and so it took a little time for me to gain the experience, I think, that would catch up to my ability, but I do think that playing all those sports, to me, was a huge advantage because of the fact that ultimately in sports, it's all about being competitive. And I think playing those team sports and not wanting to let your teammate down really instills a real attitude of competing. And I think more than anything over the years, that's probably the one thing that I feel like I did the best was I just competed well.
Yeah, I can see that over watching you play and your career, like how competitive you were, and I even remember when you were captain of the Ryder Cup and you took the team over to Europe to play practice rounds so you could get an advantage there because you could see. So I can definitely see how your competitiveness has played throughout your career.
Well, it didn't work out very well going to Ireland. We did go, and there's one really quick story, because we decided that because nobody had played the course, I was the only person who had played there. I played in the European Open there every year. So we went over, after the tournament at Firestone, and the first night we were there, everybody was so jet-lagged we couldn't sleep. And so we asked the policeman, is there a pub that's open, somewhere around here where we could go? It's like 11:30 at night. Oh, yeah, there's a pub out there in the bog. There's the sinking pub. It's kind of sliding into the bog. You guys want to go there? We'll take you. So they took us out there, and we had a really fun time. We showed up with 2 guys there. Within about 30 minutes, there was 150 because, Phil was there and Tiger was there, the whole crew. And we had a great time till about 3 in the morning, and then it was time to pay the bill, and I gave him a credit card. And I'm sorry, Mr. Lehman, we only take cash here. Oh, okay, all right. So then hey guys, we need cash. So we had plenty of cash in the pockets. We had plenty of guys with cash. Gave him a bunch of greenbacks. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lehman, we only take euros. So the people in the bar paid the entire bill for us. So when we came back for the Ryder Cup, we sent 20 passes over to the pubs. I think we took care of them.
Oh, that's cool. That's so good. That's a great story. That is so good. So in the early 80s, you got on tour. Didn't have the best couple of years, and I believe you got a bit of a funny story from Memphis in the early years.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about you guys, but when I was young, I had a serious temper. I mean, a really bad one. Some of the things that I did, I'm not proud of, but this one, it was embarrassing only in that, I think at the time I just met my future wife, and so she was out with me that week, and I had a chance to make the cut. I was just a young guy, 23 or whatever, and making a cut was a big deal, and I ended up 3-putting the 16th or 17th hole. I put myself behind the 8-ball, and I'm walking off the green, and there's a garbage can there, and I just buried my foot in the garbage can. I thought it was like metal or something, but it was cardboard, and I just put my whole leg into it, and then I couldn't get my leg out, so I'm shaking the garbage can off my leg, and then somebody had put the rope up that goes to the next tee, and so I tried to jump over it, and I didn't quite make it, and I went flat on my face. 0 for 2. Okay, it wasn't real impressive. Yeah, she saw it all. I did not make the cut. But I will say one thing. Just keep going forward. It was to me a huge lesson. I missed 13 cuts by a shot that year, 1984. 13 cuts by a shot out of 27 or whatever. Okay, and so I would complain, oh, I'm so unlucky. hit a divot on 18. I hit up on a tree on 17. I 3-putted, blah, 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 blah. You know how it goes here. And the buddy of mine said, there's a reason why you miss every cut by a shot. And I go, what are you talking about? I said, well, look, it doesn't happen by accident. So as soon as you figure out why it is you're missing every cut by a shot, you'll be a better golfer. And he was right. I mean, there's a reason for stuff like that. So all this stuff in our life that happens, if there's a reoccurring thing going on, you just got to ask yourself why. Like, there's a reason why this is happening. It's up to us to figure out what it is. And I think God plays a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's never a coincidence, or there's never an accident, right? There's always a plan behind it. And then from there, you gave up professional golf, right? You chose to step away to be like a club pro.
Correct.
Okay, what was the reasons for that? What was what brought that in?
Well, it kind of goes back to a girl again, So the same girl who I embarrassed myself in front of in Memphis, we got pretty serious, and it just got to the point where I was playing terrible golf. And I thought, well, long distance relationship was difficult. I mean, very difficult. She grew up near the Rose Bowl in Los Angeles. I grew up in Minnesota, so it was tough. So I decided, why don't I just kind of quit golf for a while and take a job out near where she lives. So I did at a place called Wood Ranch in Simi Valley, California, and ended up having just a normal dating relationship for a year, and which was probably one of the best things I'd ever done. I think you know how it is sometimes. You meet somebody and you just know, like, this is the person for me, and this is for sure the person for me. And she felt pretty much the same way, but the long distance was hard. And so this gave us this chance to kind of move forward, in a way that, you get up on Sunday mornings, go to church, you work all week long, you have fun, you pick her up, you drop her off. I mean, the whole dating thing became way more normal, and we ended up getting married, kind of in the middle of that year.
Oh, that's great. That's
really great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 38 years later, right?
What's that?
38 years later?
Yeah, 38 years later, exactly right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So speaking of some, Paul, you grew up in Florida, went to University of Florida, and you also got played out on tour a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Tell about.
Yeah, I think before I go any further, I just want to tell you, I'm in awe of who's sitting on my left-hand side. I don't say that just because they're friends, but it is a brutally hard game, and it's especially a brutally hard game when you know that you are trying to walk in faith and you want to always show that you're walking in faith, but you have things going on inside, like you talked about, some anger, and they've all been so real, and it's been such a blessing to watch them play golf at an elite level. And for me, up here sitting with you guys, I was a good player in college, 3-time All-American. We won a national championship in '93 at Florida, qualified for the PGA Tour right out of the gate. I got in a car accident, got hurt, tore labrum and rotator cuff. And back then I didn't know there was such thing as a medical exemption, so I tried to play through it. Eventually developed the swing yips and then had to have reconstructive surgery of my shoulder. And it was the hardest time in my life by far. I didn't realize at the time, but golf was my idol. It was everything. You don't realize it when it's your idol. You don't actually realize that something is that, but it definitely was. And I realized two things very quickly in my short 2 seasons on tour, and it's how good these guys are. I was a good college player, but there was always still other guys that were that much better. When I got out there, and Tom obviously was a very big deal when I got on tour. I'm 54 now, and so he had already ascended. I think he had already gotten to #1 in the world by the time I got out. But, when you watch these guys, you realize how good they are. And very quickly, it was made evident to me that I needed to find something else to do. And there comes carrying the bag versus swinging. That's why there's no clips of me hitting any shots back there. I've hit more people. Did somebody get a standing ovation for getting hit by Scotty Scheffler? I started signing gloves before the round called Paul the Hitman Tesori, and my caddy would just pass them out when we would go through. It's sad, but it's very true. That is not embellished at all. It was a struggle. You did not want to follow my group, that's for sure. But yeah, and for me, I still hadn't found the Lord yet, so I wasn't walking with the Lord. I thought I was. I think I'm one of those that keeps pastors awake at night. I looked every bit of a Christian. I went to church, I tithed, I prayed, but there was definitely no transformation in my heart when it came to Jesus. And there's an analogy that you hear, it's the diving board theology. And it's the instance that we could all think is when you're standing on a diving board as a kid and your dad's in the pool and he says, jump, I'll catch you. And you're like, I bet you will. I don't know. I know you're my dad, but I haven't, it's pistuo is the word, but I haven't trusted in you yet. I know that's you, but I haven't trusted in you. And it's not until you jump off that diving board that you trust in your dad. You know that you're gonna put your life in his hands. And for me, we don't have time for my testimony, but the very end of it, it wasn't until 2010 until I jumped off that diving board and went full in. And my life got turned pretty upside down after that in a bad way. I lost every dime I'd ever made. The crash of 2010, got fired for the first time. And at the end of 2010, I was broke, jobless, relationshipless, homeless, all of that. But it was the first time I'd felt peace in my entire life. And then I had one big decision to make, and I had a job with the 4th ranked player in the world at the time that was offered to me and the 11th ranked player in the world. And out of the middle of the blue, number 213 called. And I had one goal, and I just wanted to find a relationship where I felt like I could grow in my faith. And the only thing I knew about him was he was 213 and he loved Jesus. And I said, that's good enough for me. And so let's go do that. Yep.
There might not have been any shots of you, but there's no other caddy that I know of that knows what the Greek translation here. You just threw out pistuo. That was encouraging.
Yeah, I just regurgitate information. That's what I do.
How was the transition from playing to caddying? Like, how did that come about? Like, how did you go about getting a bag and starting?
Again, all God ordained. So my first job was I think he was ranked 15th in the world at the time, was Vijay Singh. Vijay and I had become friends. We both lived in Ponte Vedra. I practiced and played every day. If he was there, I was there. We became friends. He became a mentor to me as far as golf goes. Unfortunately, I listened to some of his stuff on life too. Vijay, if you're listening, it's okay. I know I shouldn't have done that. But, we became deep friends. And I was teaching full-time in 2000. I'd quit playing golf in 99. I was teaching golf full-time. And in the middle of nowhere, he called and said, hey, my caddy's taking a couple of weeks off. Would you like to come caddy for me for a week? So I did. Then at the end of the week, he hired me as his coach. And my first week as his coach was Valhalla, Tiger going for 3 in a row, Jack's last PGA, and Vijay. And it was my introduction to what this was. It's still the biggest crowds I've ever seen in my life. Jack almost holding the wedge shot on the last hole to make the cut. Tiger obviously I think he was in the lead, but obviously ended up winning his 3rd in a row. And then he hired me at the end of the week. And so I went from making about $22,000 a year teaching to about making that per week. And so I got thrown into the mix, and the caddies didn't like me. I mean, why would you? All of a sudden my first job is one of the best players. But for me, it was the biggest lessons I learned work-wise, because Vijay was the hardest worker on tour, and he was a very demanding man. I had 11 days off in 01 out of 365 and 12 days off in 02 out of 365 days. I worked every off week and every day. And so I learned a lot through that. And then him and I put together his protocol of how to eventually take over number 1 in the world. We came up with a list of 7 things that we thought we had to look at and grade against Tiger. And we were better than him at 1. He was better than us at 4. And we thought that we were tied in 2. So he went after to work at the 4. And eventually overtook him for number 1 in the world. So yeah, it was amazing. That was my first job. And it got me ready for the other jobs that were much, much easier than Vijay was. Yeah. So that was kind of my first introduction.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know Vijay was your first bag. That is a big introduction right there.
For sure.
Webb, you grew up in Raleigh, went to Wake Forest, that's down the street. Is that somewhere that you always wanted to go? I know there's obviously a great history at Wake Forest with Curtis Strange and Jay Haas and a lot of Arnold Palmer. A lot of great players went there. Is that somewhere that you always looked at going?
Well, my entire family, mom, dad, 2 sisters, brother went to UNC. And I grew up going to UNC basketball games and football games every year. So that was where everybody thought I was going to go. But I took an unofficial visit to Wake Forest, and Jerry Haas was there, and he's still there. He's still the coach. Jerry played on the Nike tour, I guess it was at the time. Is that right? And then a little bit on the European tour. Your age group. A little bit on the European Tour, a little bit on the PGA Tour. So for me, I connected with Jerry kind of on a personal level. And I thought, this guy has played kind of on every level. I want to make it to the next level after college golf. And so it was really a belief in him as a coach. And I knew I didn't want to go too far from home. My swing coach growing up was in Raleigh, North Carolina, so just down the road. So Wake was a pretty easy decision for me, and met my wife on the second day of school there. We dated all through college, and she actually met the Lord before I did, but her breaking up with me my senior year is what led me to start a relationship with the Lord for the first time. So a lot of good things happened for me at Wake Forest.
Can you tell me how you exactly met Dowd? How
Well,
did that come about?
Any show of hands, if you're in an arranged marriage in here? Probably not. I am. So my dad met my wife before I met her. And my dad says, look, so Dowd's a year older. My wife's name's Dowd. And he says, hey, my son's coming to Wake in 2 weeks. He's a freshman, really dorky. All he does is play golf. He goes, if you will just walk around on campus with him and let him be seen with a beautiful girl, I'll pay you $100, you know? And so Dowd, oh yes, that's serious. And he was serious. He was worried about me, I think. And so my dad's name is Sam, and Dowd said, Sam, if this son of yours if he's half as cute as you are, I'll do this deal for free. And so sure enough, we started dating, and he paid up. So our first date, my dad paid for it. And yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Ever expected you to now also have podcast co-hosts to your name?
No. I mean, we just loved hanging out those early days. Who knew that, you know, here we are 16 years into marriage and 5 kids. And I lost my dad in 2017. So he and my wife had the coolest relationship. And, you know, she still talks about him to this day. So he meant so much to me in my golf game. Just taught me so much. And he was the first to say he didn't know what to tell me with the golf swing or really fundamentals. It was more kind of the drive and the work ethic and the attitude and the, you know, carrying yourself like a gentleman. I remember the first time I bent a club. I was playing with my dad. I was 10 years old. He just looked at me and said, I'll see you when we get done. So he kept playing. I had to walk in. And that was, you know, that was the first time I really saw that my dad was serious with what he was teaching me. So.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So you had a good college career. You had 4 wins in your last year, right? And came out and got your card straight away. How was the transition going from college to playing on the best tour in the world? The first 2 years, you had a couple good years too, finishing 60th and 80th around there.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of wide-eyed my rookie year. I loved it. I learned a lot. I think I was just kind of taking it in every week, learning as I go, but I didn't really know what I was doing. Second year, I regressed a little bit. And then all of a sudden, you know, I kind of barely kept my card. I finished 4th in Vegas, the second to last tournament, my second year. And then I hired Paul. So I went from, you know, I think I was about 70th on the money list to 90th to all of a sudden second. And so one thing changed. I hired this guy. Yeah. I think the biggest difference that Paul taught me, and he taught me early on, was just, you know, how to play golf courses, how to think, how we're going to work. And, you know, like he said, he picked up a lot of that from VJ, but Paul is a great player in his own right. In fact, last week he was 8 under on his last, I think, 14 holes. But yeah, I gained so much confidence. It was like a snowball that third year where we kept playing well for 4 days. And that's the thing on the PGA Tour. It's so hard to put together 4 really good days. You might have 3 good days and a 72, which will, you know, make you finish 30th. But to do 4 days in a row is hard. And we started doing that, and I was getting confidence. He was helping me, and golf swing was getting better. So it was a really, really fun third year looking back. Our first year together, a lot of close calls that year.
You finished second on the FedEx, right?
Yeah.
So, funny story. You probably would remember as much as me.
Yeah, no, I still haven't fully forgiven you yet, so that's okay.
so where was leading going into the tour championship, and Didn't play great that week, finished 20th or something like that. And I was playing good that week. I started the week around 20th or something like that on the FedEx Cup. And I was playing in the last group on Sunday at the Tour Championship, and I needed to finish birdie to get into a playoff. And so I birdied 17, and I had hit a nice shot into the last, had about a 20, 30 footer, and I had to make it. And if I made that putt, Webb wins the FedEx Cup. Yeah. If I missed that putt, he finishes second.
Giving you some.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have given you some too. You did hit a great putt. You hit a great putt.
I did. I hit a really good putt that just broke across the face of the hole.
Aaron hasn't missed many putts in his career.
Yeah, I think I hit a spike mark. Yeah, but no, I do remember that. Like, yeah. So it was, almost really good for both of us. Yeah. But Tom, so going back to you, Tom, like, so you took a job as a club pro, came back, you were Player of the Year on the Nike Tour, which is now the Corn Ferry Tour, and then got back out on tour. And it was really a quick, short 4 years, and you were #2 in the world. What was the difference for you between those first few years and then getting back on tour? I mean, I remember you winning Memorial. I remember watching that, and you shot 67, 67, 67 to win comfortably. So what was the difference that you found for you from the beginning to then playing really well?
Well, I think the biggest thing, by the way, I can't believe you worked on your off weeks for VJ. I mean, I'm still stunned by that. Like, everybody sends their caddy home on the off weeks and they put your feet up, but not you, I guess. Holy smokes.
You were a little kinder to Andrew during all those days.
You know, I was blessed in my career to have a great caddy as well. Andrew Martinez caddied for me for 24 years, and from day one, it was always the same thing: is we're gonna do our very best to glorify God out here, and if we happen to play great golf, super. But I think the great golf comes out of a belief in yourself. So I didn't think we ever worried about not playing great golf, because you have to learn. You have to learn. So I think most people are probably doubters to some degree, in that you can play really well or you can do something really well, but when you get right to the very end and all the pressure is on, do you have the belief in yourself to kind of step through and take it? And I think most people have to really work at that. I mean, most people have to learn to believe, and that's the way I was. So that was the difference. The difference between early and late was simply a matter of believing. And I could tell the story. It came down to one shot. I hit one shot at the right time, and it changed my entire life. So
where was that at?
It was at tour school. Okay. It was at tour school, and I'm a hooker of the ball. I draw. In the first round at tour school, and I had a really good year that year. This was 1990. Back right pins, that draw was just hanging to the right, and I was hitting the edge of the bank and kicking way right, and I think I made 3 doubles that day and shot like 8 over. And then the next day, more of the same. And on the range after the second round, I was, aiming left and hitting these cut shots, and my cut shot was just a straight push. I didn't move at all. I just pushed it, and then just one after the other, hitting these cut shots right at this pin, just knocking this pin down. And my caddy just like flew out of his chair. He was sitting way back there. He was kind of like, feeling sorry for himself because, we were gonna have a short week. And he literally runs to me and he says, "What are you doing?" I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, I've just watched you hit 20 cut shots. Like, you've missed every right pin to the right and made doubles and bogeys. I just watched you hit 20 perfect cut shots, which is a push. And he says, "Why don't you ever do that?" I says, "Because I don't trust it. That's not my shot. I rarely try to hit it." Well, long story short, over the next 45 holes of that tournament, I played like 15 under, and I got to the 72nd hole, had to make a birdie to make the 4-round cut. And the pin was back right, water short, water right, perfect yardage, 7-iron, aimed away left and tried to get a cut, and I just pushed it right at the pin. It never left the flag. Just boom, about a tap in, 8 inches, just a tap in for birdie. And, that whole shot right there, because I was probably as nervous over that shot as I'd ever been in my life, and hit the most perfect shot you could hit. And that whole trust thing just kind of fell into place. That missing link just kind of fell into place.
It's amazing how just like one little shot can mean so much, because it's like, it gives you the ability to trust it, especially under the biggest pressure. Like, Q school is probably as much pressure as you'll ever feel as a golfer, because that can mean your whole year. You're either sitting on the couch at home or playing mini tours, or you can be on the best tour in the world. So it's a huge deal for us, you know. So that's pretty cool. I didn't know that about the Q School story. And then in '96, you had a great year. You got to number 2 in the world, and you were paired in the last group at Oakland Hills with your friend Steve Jones. I remember watching that on TV back in Australia. Tell us what you said to Steve walking down that first hole on the last day.
Well, it was a great pairing. It was a great pairing for both of us. Steve Jones is a wonderful, wonderful human being, really faithful, amazing believer. And, we were paired together. And he had been out for a year. He had missed a year because of an injury. So he was just kind of getting back onto his stride, and so he was nervous. And I was somewhat nervous. I actually have to say I wasn't that nervous because I was playing so well. But I knew that he was nervous. And so on the first tee, we hit our shots when we walk off the tee. And so I just gave him, Joshua 1:9, be bold and strong, banish fear and doubt, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. So let's just go out today and be bold. Let's be strong. Let's play without fear, and let's just have a great day. And it was, and so he won. Yeah. There we go. So after the tournament finished, he was giving all of his musings to the press, and they asked him about did you and Tom talk at all? And he goes, yeah, we talked a lot. In the first tee, he gave me this verse, Joshua 1:9, and he quoted it for him. Wow. And he says, well, did you give him a verse back? He says, no, I didn't. I wanted to win.
That sounds like something he would say. That's great. And then, that's pretty awesome. And then a couple months later, you're playing the last group at the British Open in '96 with Nick Faldo. Nick had just won the Masters, and he came from 6 back to beat Greg Norman, and you started with a 6-shot lead at Troon. How was that? How was the mindset? Obviously, the press brought that up. How was that?
The Saturday round, I shot 64, and it went from, I think, tied to leading by 6. It was kind of a breezy day, and I just played so well. 6-shot lead, and the first question in the press room was, hey, Norman was 6 ahead of Faldo, at the Masters, and he lost by 3, so, hey, Nick is 6 behind you here. I go, let me finish. Are you saying, is lightning going to strike twice in the same place? I mean, the answer is I don't think so. I kind of felt like I had to be a little bit aggressive, answering that question. Like, there's no chance. There's no chance that happens. Meanwhile, inside, I'm thinking like, holy crap. But I think, having a big lead is sometimes difficult because, the only thing you can really do is lose it. I mean, you've already kind of won. That's the way I looked at it. You're 6 ahead, and a course that hard, if I just go out and shoot even par or close to it, there's no way I'm going to lose. And so he had to overcome those doubts and those fears. But, I think, to me, that's the whole thing about, what's the point? It's like there's this peace that God gives you if you ask for it. And I think even in the nervous moments, in the having to wait all day for a 3:30 tee time, which was the hardest part of all, to play, you sit there thinking about the what ifs and the what ifs and the what ifs, and you get completely out of the present. You get completely out of just being right here, right now, and thinking and what could happen ahead. And God just settled me right down. Like, hey, just enjoy the moment. Enjoy the people you're with. Enjoy your caddy. Enjoy the day. It'll be a great walk. Just be here right now and don't get ahead of yourself. And I think that those are answers to prayers. Lord, give me wisdom for the day. And it was no promise I'm going to win, but a definite promise that I can handle the day.
Sometimes those stressors and those worries kind of creep in. What are practical ways that you, throughout your career, whether it be a Bible verse or something, what are ways that kind of bring you back into that present to push those away in competition?
Yeah, that's, that Bible verse, Joshua 1:9, is always, I became a Christian at age 15, and that became my verse right off the bat. So that one stuck with me all these years. But, I just think that, I give a lot of credit to my caddy, I have to say. Andrew was such a reminder, to me about, like, what's going on right here, right now. And I remember one shot. The first round, I was 5 under par after, I guess, 13 holes or 12 holes. I was just playing great. And the next hole is a 5-iron and a sand wedge hole, and I made a double. You know, and just how can you make a double on the easiest hole on the golf course? You know, everything was going my way that first day, and then I make a double. So I was so angry. The next hole, just ripped this driver down the middle, and there's pot bunkers everywhere. I didn't even pay attention, just down the middle, and still had a 6-iron into the wind and just hit this bullet about 8 feet and marked my ball, and Andrews across the green, and I threw him about 100-mile-an-hour fastball, stung his hand a bit, and he walks over to me, and he knows that I'm still mad, and he's handing the ball back to me, and I reach for it, and then he pulls it back away again, and I go, what? He goes, I just want to tell you something. I'm caddying for the best player in the field this week. I just want you to know that. And then he gave me the ball, and he walked away. Wow. Just that. Okay, he was that guy. He was that guy, and he would always bring things back to now. And the anger went away, made the putt, away we went, like nothing ever happened.
He was ferociously in love with Jesus. He would tell anybody about it any day of the week. It didn't matter where he was. He was a faithful man.
Yeah, I remember when he worked for me for a few months, and everyone would say, "Oh, give him hell out there," and he'd be like, "We'll give him some heaven." That's what he would say every time. Every time that someone would say that, that's what he would say.
Yeah. Awesome. And so Webb and Paul, Paul, I don't know if you've listened to this episode, but Paul talked a little bit about you on the podcast episode that we did together. And he shared a really fun story going back to the 2012 US Open. Take us in just that player-caddy dynamic. You're at the Olympic Club. Just tell us a little bit about that story. Paul, maybe give us some insight in what's going on, but tell us in that mindset.
Yeah, I'll just do the very beginning. I want him to tell all the good stuff there. So, U.S. Open 2012 at Olympic Club. Him and I just missed 2 cuts in a row for the first time ever. It was only our 3rd and 4th missed cut in a year and a half. And we were pretty lost, and we couldn't wait to get there and work, and my flight got canceled. I had to sleep in the airport. Woke up the next morning. He's waiting for me on Monday at the Olympic Club after I flew into San Fran, drove, still haven't slept, and I get there, and this is very rare. He's grumpy. I mean grumpy. As soon as I show up, he goes, "Are you ready?" I'm like, yeah. So we run out there real quick, and we can't find balls in the rough that's this thick. He's frustrated with the marshals they can't find. Just very un-Webb Simpson. This is not something that normally happens. So that night I talked to my wife as I was about to fall asleep, was pretty tired, and she goes, "How's the day?" I said, "Hon, it was weird. I don't know if I've done something to offend Webb or whatever it is." She goes, "He's always said, just ask him." So the next morning, Tuesday morning on the putting green, and I'm trying to get up, like, how to say this the right way. And I just said, "Webb, can I talk to you? Can you stop for a second?" He goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Yesterday," and I went through kind of what happened, and I said, "Are we okay?" And I'm a little emotional right now, but he stopped putting, he had the belly putter time, and he leaned on it, and he had tears in his eyes, and he apologized, because that's the kind of man he is right away. He goes, "It had nothing to do with you, but my son took his first steps the other day, and I don't want to be here. I have no desire to be at the US Open." I'm like, "Why am I here? That's way more important than me being where I am right now, and I just don't really know what to do with that." And then I'll kind of let you take over the rest of the week from there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really cool Wednesday afternoon because, like Paul said, we were struggling that week big time, trying to find the golf swing. We kind of went all the way to the right side of the range there at Olympic by ourselves. No one was near us. All the reps, from all the club companies, they had packed up, they had gone, and we kind of found a little something. And I remember watching Stuart Sink when he won the British Open. He said that he played like really bad golf the week prior. He was over there with his 2 sons, and he found something right before he went out and won the golf tournament. So I had that kind of in my head. And so I was in 30th place or whatever through 2 days, had a great Saturday, and then Sunday, I'm still 4 back, but I have a chance to win. And Paul, being the great caddy he is, asked me that morning, "Am I going to look at leaderboards?" And I said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, I don't think we should pay attention at least the first, 7 or 8 holes." And I didn't really know what he meant. He told me later, the first 6 holes at Olympic are really, really hard. 1 is normally a par 5. They turn into a par 4 that week. He figured even with good golf, we'll probably be a couple over through 6 holes and maybe be 6 back. And he thought he could, Webb could get discouraged if he looks up there and he's 6 back. So he just told me, "Don't look. I'll let you know around the turn what's going on." And sure enough, I was 2 over through 5. 6, I hit a Tom Lehman push cut by accident. to a front right pin. I wasn't trying to do it, but I made birdie, and then rattled off birdie on 7, 9, and 10, and all of a sudden got right back into the mix. But like Tom said, the role Andy played in his golf, these guys are invaluable. And so even that one question, starting the day on Sunday could have changed my entire day by Paul. So fast forward, we're on 17. I'm feeling the heat. I know I'm around the lead or in the lead, and I'm nervous. It's a par 5. I got a second shot. But the thoughts I was having were really genuine. The Lord was giving me thoughts of, like, this is important, yes, but in the grand scheme of eternity, it's not that important. Like, you'll be forgotten. Like Baddeley said, King Solomon said, it's all vanity. So these thoughts were brewing in my head, and I said, Paul, if we win today, or if we win, another 10 majors, like, we're not taking the trophy with us, to the next life or in our casket or whatever. And, he's listening, and I kind of kept going, and all of a sudden he goes, all right, buddy, we got 205 front. We got 227 hole. Yeah. So,
well, one of the things that he's missing here is I asked him why he was where he was on Tuesday, and he just said, I need my wife. And his wife flew out there 8 months pregnant, and they spent the next 4 days in the Word of God, in prayer, and in communion with each other. And so seriously, on Monday, he was grumpy. He was far from the Lord. He wasn't thinking about what his gratitude was or his thankfulness was. He was thinking about a situation. But here we are on the 71st hole of a major championship with his first opportunity to win. And he was so at peace, nervous, but at peace. And that's what the Lord got. That's what the Lord can do for you.
For sure, yeah.
Did that help, alleviate some of the pressure? With that sort of mindset, did that help, alleviate some of the pressure? Or does this, what was it like?
Yeah.
What was that?
I think, a lot of people have asked me what has helped over the years as a Christian stay calm under pressure. And I think we have an arsenal of weapons. We have the Holy Spirit who lives inside of us. We have the peace of God, which our biggest problem in life has been solved as a Christian. We need to be forgiven of our sin, and that's been solved. And so we have a relationship with God, which is the greatest blessing we can possibly have. And so I think reminding ourselves of things that are true, Paul talks about it often. I'm going to remind you of things that you already know. Believers, we need to be stirred up in the gospel. We need to be stirred up for what God's done for us. And so I think that peace I've argued for a long time that a Christian can handle victory better than a non-Christian because it's not ultimate. A Christian knows it's a gift, and they can enjoy it as a gift. When you're not a Christian and you win, you have to have the next one. Like, the next one's got to be, the paycheck's got to get better, the job's got to get better, the next car's got to be better. But as a Christian, this is just a gift from the Lord. And so you can actually enjoy it, which is really cool. But in defeat, a Christian can, and Aaron said this earlier, there's a plan, there's a purpose behind it. And so if I go shoot 76 this week, it's not worthless. Like, God had a story written for me this week, and I can learn from it. And so there's a huge advantage to being a Christian athlete, not just for performing better, but just the peace that comes knowing that, like I said, our biggest problem's been solved, and going to play golf for a living is a gift.
Come on, praise God.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes me think about your podcast. So Webb, Ben Crane, and a good friend of theirs, William Kane, who's a pastor down in Nashville, they do a podcast called Bible Caddy. And on the podcast, you talked about maxing out for God. Yeah. Talk about that. What do you mean by that? Like, about maxing out for God in your performance and things like that. You talked about.
Absolutely. I had a great moment in my career a number of years ago when I felt like I was just getting so caught up in comparing myself to other players. I mean, I'll never drive it like Rory. I'll never putt like Aaron Baddeley. I'll never hit push cuts like Tom Lehman. But I feel like the Lord met me in that moment saying, well, I've given you a talent. Why don't you just get the most out of the talent that I've given you? The Lord gives different degrees of talents to everyone, and everyone in here is uniquely created by God for a talent, to enjoy life and to enjoy God. And so I felt like, man, this is pretty cool. I can actually, Phoenix Open this week, my score doesn't dictate like what I can give God. What I can give God is my best effort. Flying in today. Tomorrow, my practice is a really important day for me. Wednesday, A lot of guys might walk around like it's a nice, easy Wednesday, but Paul and I are going to be extremely focused. We have goals for the day. We're all about business. So I think those kind of things got me really excited, knowing if I do a great job there on the controllables, then that's a great way I can glorify God. And then when we teed up Thursday, that's the fun part, because we've done all the work. The pressure is there, yes, but it's good pressure, it's competition, and you go out and perform to the best of your ability. And so that's really fun for me. The podcast was really centered around the Word of God, just 3 friends who love the Word of God. And I do want to say something about Aaron. I've said this to a lot of my friends. You know, they ask me about players on tour and Christians, and I say, well, let me tell you about Aaron Baddeley. If you said, hey, who's one guy where you could walk up to him any day on the putting green on the range and just say, hey, tell me about what you read in the Word this morning? I said, Aaron Baddeley will tell you every time. He doesn't miss a day. And so his faith, his love for God, his love for his family has been a huge encouragement to, I know, me and Paul both over my 16-year career. So thank you, buddy.
Your own career, how have you also experienced that? I know you have your own stories of winning and triumphing. How has that kind of accumulated itself in your career?
Say that again.
How has those moments, of, maxing out for God and finding, even that fulfillment in Christ and not necessarily in the trophy? Do you remember a time in your career where maybe that was at the forefront of that success?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the one that pops into mind is like when I won at Hilton Head. It was on Easter Sunday. It was the day after it was my first wedding anniversary. And my whole life I've been wanting to win on the PGA Tour. And that morning I talked to a couple hundred people on the 18th green for the Easter service. And then about 10 hours later, I holed about a 6-footer to win the tournament. And I mean, it was amazing. I mean, to have Rochelle there, win on Easter, be able to tell people about Jesus, like on the interview afterwards, thank you, my Lord and Savior, on Easter Sunday. And then we're sitting at dinner afterwards, and we sort of said to each other, like, is this all it is? Like a bit like what Scotty was saying, it's satisfying, but yet fleeting at the same time. So that's definitely one thing that comes to mind. And then also thinking about like what Webb was saying about like maxing out, like working hard, and like that we get given gifts. Like we've been given a gift to play golf and to caddy, and that's all. And we all get given different gifts, and it doesn't matter whether it's a stay-at-home mom, whether it's a businessman, whether it's a coach. The amount of we need those different gifts for everybody to be able to because everyone speaks into each other's lives differently. Like a coach is going to speak differently to a parent. A caddy is going to speak differently to a friend. And like we need those people in our life. And I feel like God's really gifted us, and that's sort of the point, right? Like at the end of the day, it's sort of like the point is that we all give God the glory, and it's His. We sort of makes me think of Eric Little when he said when he was running and he wouldn't run on a Sunday, and he said that like, hey, I'm not going to run, and so they changed the day for he was going to run, and he said, look, hey, God's got me a purpose, and He's also made me fast, and when I run fast, I feel His pleasure, and I feel like that on the golf course. I don't know if you guys have felt that. It's like when you're out there, like you truly feel His pleasure when you're doing the best you can. You're giving 100%. You're working hard, and you're giving Him the glory. So that really speaks to me is His story like that.
I think there's a really valuable piece in that because so many times, if we're out in the audience, like I'm not going to be on the PGA Tour one day. So like, what is that gift? And as they mentioned, each one of us is created with a purpose and with that specific gift. And we are called to use that to the best of our ability to glorify God, right? And so we can use that in whatever way, shape, or fashion for that. And that's really our calling, right? And so for you guys, and sometimes you see, okay, if I'm winning, that's the point. But when you see that, and you're striving for success, I've heard it before as like, okay, Christians are soft, right? So if you know at the end of the day, the victory is not going to fulfill you, what is the point? You can take it that way. So why should I try? Why should I try hard in school, in this thing, if I know at the end of the day it's not going to fulfill me? What have you guys found the answer to that question? What is the point of still trying?
Well, a word comes to mind. I've been super encouraged by this lately. And to your question, we all know Romans 8:28. We skip over 8:29 often, but Romans 8:28, and we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. 29, for those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son. And so I think the point is that no matter what we're going through, whether it's, this room split up probably. Some people are going through a really difficult time, and life's probably pretty good for other people. But the point is that whatever we're going through, God is purposing our lives to be more like his son. And so I think the point for me this week, yes, to work hard, yes, to encourage other people, yes, to have fun with Paul, but God's working in my life this week for me to become more like Jesus. And so whether it's 65 a day or 72 a day, and the same for these other guys, that God is always working in our lives. And if we keep our eyes focused on him, Isaiah 26:3-4, some of Paulie's favorite verses, if we keep focused on God, he's going to flood us with peace no matter what circumstances are around us. And that's why I love, talking about Jesus, is because we're not Christians and life's going great and we say, hey, come be a Christian. It's no, Jesus can offer you joy in the midst of any kind of circumstance. For my wife this last year, it's been a brutally hard year. A school she helped start is coming to an end. Yet I've seen a joy in her that I've probably never seen, and it's because she's been so dependent on Jesus for help, and every day just getting into the Word. And so it's been so fun for me as her husband to see her go through something really hard, yet she's more like Jesus than she's ever been. And so the Lord is kind and good to help us get through those moments, but also to humble us when we do play well, reminding us that it is all a gift from him.
I've always just kind of idolized everything about like Tom Brady, about the kind of work ethic that he's always shown. He was never the best at anything until he became the best at what he did. And I didn't get to experience this that often in my career, but with VJ when we got to number one, and I was his teacher and his coach, and it was the most empty I had felt my entire life. And I want to read you a quote from Tom Brady, and I'd encourage everybody to go look this up. And it was a 60-minute interview that he did. It was coming off his third Super Bowl, married not to a pretty girl, but to a supermodel, 2 amazing kids, more money than he could ever had, and already was known as probably the greatest quarterback that had ever lived. And the guy says, what's next? And so I just want to make sure I don't mess it up, so here it is. Tom says, why do I have 3 Super Bowl rings and feel like there's something else out there for me? I've reached my goal. I've reached my dream. And you could see him, he's sad. He's literally sad. He thinks, God, there has to be something more to this. There can't be. This can't be all that there is. And the interviewer asked him, Tom, what's the answer? And Tom says, I wish I knew. I wish I knew. Jesus, that's the answer. Like, he had it in there, but Jesus is the answer for that. And it fires me up because for us, it's so easy to see this. We want to go shake him. Tom, Jesus is the answer. And unfortunately, he just decided to go win 4 more Super Bowls, but he's still as empty as he always has been. But I read that because I experienced that. I came to faith much later in life than these men did. But I thought it would all fulfill me. And not only did it not fulfill me, it was the most empty it had ever been. And it took the Lord to strip everything away worldly in order for me to find pure joy. And that came from him. Yep.
That's so good. Thanks for sharing that, Paul.
Yes.
Really what it is, the Bible says that all men are like grass and their glory like the flowers of the field. The grass withers and the flowers fade, but the word of the Lord stands forever. I think that's where you need to get to. You need to get to that point where you understand it's what he's done. So I think it's great. I think it's God's highest calling to work hard and try to be your best. I think it's God's highest calling to want to let his talents that he's given you shine to the people around you, but I think the real issue is that what ultimately does fill that cup. And it's like that, there's a guy named Alistair Begg, and he's such a great pastor. And he has this little bit he did, and it talks about the thief on the cross. That Jesus is in the middle cross, and there's the thieves on either side, and he promised that one thief that this day you'll be with me in paradise, and so the guy goes to heaven, and the angel says, well, for what reason should you be here? And ultimately the answer was, well, the guy in the middle cross said I could come. No more, no less, right? So that's where we need to get, right? The guy in the middle cross said we can come because we understand that the ultimate fulfillment of that cup, as we work hard to be our best, is him, period.
In Colossians, it talks about like whatever your hand finds to do it with your whole heart as unto God and not unto man. And like that's what we're talking about. And then also makes me think of like Jesus plus something equals nothing. But Jesus plus nothing equals everything. There's no Jesus and something else. It's, as Tom just said, it's Jesus alone. And getting back to that Colossians verse, like just do with all your might, do with all your heart, as unto God. Like you're honoring God by working hard. And then as Webb was talking about, like as you do the work, as you go through, whether you're having a great day at work, great day on the golf course, or it's not, like God's working these things out for your good, and that good ultimately is to be more Christ-like. Like everyone thinks like the Bible's like a book of rules and regulations, and you can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, the Bible says that Jesus is the author and finisher of our faith, and that God's the author of life. And if he's the author of life, he knows what the ultimate life is. And that ultimate life is to be able to live with less sin in your life. And it's not about not doing something, but it's about you being more fulfilled. If you could sit there and think about, if you had a life you had a forgiving heart, that you didn't hold resentment, that you weren't bitter, that you weren't thinking about, man, if only I could get that boat or that house, or if I could just be more like that person, and having envy in your life. If you could eradicate all that stuff, you'd be living a fulfilled life and a content life. And that's what the Bible talks about. It's not about a book of rules. It's about, this is the best way that you could possibly live life. And I mean, even the Apostle Paul said he had to learn to be content. It wasn't something that, the Apostle Paul wrote half the New Testament. Unbelievable ministry. And he had to learn how to be content. It wasn't just magically given it to him overnight. He said, I have to learn to be content that in all situations, whether I've got lots or if I got little, if I got a full belly or if I'm hungry, I've got to learn to be content that in all situations, whether it's either of those, that it's Christ who gives me strength so I can do everything. And he can, so to me, all you guys have talked about tonight, is that it's having Jesus in the forefront of your life with nothing else, and then glorifying him with the talents and the gifts that he's specifically given you. Because you are unique, you're created in God's image, and he's created you special and unique just the way you are. And you're on purpose. He had a plan for your life. The Bible talks about how your days of your life were planned out, that he knit you together in your mother's womb. He knows everything about you. He knows you better than you know yourself. And he's got a plan for your life. He's got a purpose. And that is to glorify him and to ultimately have a relationship with him. Because without the relationship with him, we have nothing. And that's what you've heard these guys talk about tonight, that it's Jesus and nothing else. Yeah.
And when you live that way, you can notice the difference and you can notice the peace. The Bible says he'll provide a peace that surpasses all understanding. And so when you see Scotty in that interview at the beginning, you see him, I wish that press conference was longer, because he knows the answer, and just for him to share. And that's why these guys are here tonight, to help us understand what is the point of this. And just a I think we've got time for one more story, right? This has been great, but tell us the Ryder Cup this year. So obviously from the U.S. side, it wasn't a victory, right? So Webb being the vice captain, you were there. Paul, you were there. Tom, I know you've been part of many Ryder Cups. The intensity is there. There's millions of watching. But something happened that final day. The U.S. starts to make a comeback, but there was something that happened that the TVs didn't capture. Can you guys give us the inside look into what took place after that?
Well, first of all, practically they sped the greens up Sunday, so that helped us a lot. Couple things that I feel like the announcers don't talk enough about, which is the Europeans played unbelievable golf. You know, the golf we were seeing, the golf you were seeing on TV, it's unbelievable what they're able to do and the amount of putts they're able to make. I think it's easy for media to kind of create a narrative of what the losing team does wrong far too often versus just focusing on the amazing golf that these guys were playing. Saturday night was a brutally hard night as a vice captain, and I'm sure harder for Keegan as the main captain, but a really cool moment. You know, guys rallied around Scottie Scheffler. He's world number one. He's 0-4 for the week. Although he wasn't playing that bad, he's just getting beat. And he kind of feels the weight of the entire team and the country on his shoulders as the world number one. And cool story, Russell Henley says that day that he was so impacted. Scottie Scheffler came over to him after they had lost, and Scottie Scheffler said, "Hey, Russ, how you doing, man? Like, you doing okay this week? I know we didn't do what we wanted." So Russell was so impacted that the world number one, Russell's like, he shouldn't be caring about me. He's Scottie Scheffler. And yet Scottie, that's the kind of person he is to go care about his teammate, Russell Henley. And so it was a cool moment Saturday night in the team room. Guys really rallying around Scottie, like looking him in the eye and saying, like, "You're our guy. Like, you're our leader." So that was a really cool moment to see after we were getting killed. And then we go out Sunday, and for about 2.5 hours, it was probably the most fun I've ever had on a golf course, and I didn't hit one shot. I was between Cameron Young and Justin Thomas. Cameron's playing unbelievable golf. He's, I think, 3 up through 10. Some stuff starts happening on the European side. I won't say who it was or what was going on, some gamesmanship. So I said, Justin will be okay. I'm going to go with Cam the rest of the way. And Cam ended up making an unbelievable putt on the last hole to win 1 up. So it was an awesome experience for me. First time in that environment as a vice captain. And yeah, it was close. I'm glad we put up a fight Sunday, but we don't have to change much. You know, our guys didn't play that bad.
Didn't you say it was the closest team that you've been a part of?
For sure, the closest team. You know, I've told people the camaraderie kind of needle that people play on the Americans, I think, is long gone. I think our team's actually closer now than the Europeans. And I say that because more than half the team live in South Florida. They rent houses together. They share chefs together at tournaments. They fly together. Like, they're together all the time. So they're great friends. And the whole ego thing maybe used to be a thing on the American team, but not anymore. We had Bryson DeChambeau say, "I'll play 1 match or I'll play 5. I'll do whatever y'all want me to do. I just want to win points." And so you get that attitude from all the guys. And so it was really special to see that, even though we didn't win. And I love Keegan Bradley. He poured his heart and soul into the Ryder Cup for 2 years. So I hated it for him. But like we've been talking about, it's just a game. It's a blessing to play it. And Europe played better. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's cool to see guys in the moment. I even heard that guys were praying over Scottie at the end. Is that something that happened as well?
I'm sure it probably did. I mean, there's a few believers on the team. And, you know, Keegan from day one, whatever is important to anyone, he really drew that out. And he really honored it. And Keegan knew Scottie loves the Lord. And so some cool videos were made for Scottie from other believers, kind of speaking into his life and encouraging him. So I really appreciate that about Keegan as a captain.
Yeah, it's so awesome to hear stories and guys being poured into like that. And so awesome to see just the PGA Tour and the Tour Bible studies that you guys do just continue to grow. I mean, these guys are the real deal. I mean, Webb's up here with his Bible. Hearing these guys back here, I mean, they are sold out for Jesus, just as you can see. So go ahead and give them another round of applause for being here tonight. And so as we kind of start to close out tonight, we want to invite you to experience that peace tonight. If this is your first time and you have not ever experienced that or given your life to Jesus, we want to explain what that looks like and to have that peace that surpasses all understanding. So no matter what your circumstances, you can find that true fulfillment in Christ. And the Bible goes, being in identity sports, I talk about identity a lot. And it's understanding that our identity truly is as a child of God. And nothing can take that away from you. And so when these guys understand that, they can go out and compete in that freedom that Christ provides. They can live in that freedom at their 9-to-5 job, knowing that their fulfillment is in Jesus Christ alone. And the Bible literally goes back to Genesis. So literally at the very beginning of Genesis, the very start of the Bible, it talks about the creation story. And so when God creates each day, at the end, he says, it is good, right? And so he gets to the seventh day, he rests and looks back, and now he says, it is very good. He uses the word very right here. You are God's masterpiece, and you are his creation. There wasn't a mistake when he created you. The gifts, the talents that these guys talked about today, that's there for a reason, and that's there for a purpose. And we have to find that purpose and use those gifts to honor God. But so instead of trying to find that success and that fulfillment, as humans, we try and go outside of our body. We try and say, okay, I need the trophy. I need the next promotion. I need the raise to feel that fulfillment. And you get there and realize that the goalposts continue and continue to move. It is not a lasting peace. And the only answer to that is Jesus. And we are sinful people. We don't deserve this peace that God has given us. But he sent his one and only son, Jesus, to be that sacrifice, the death that we deserved. He sent his son to live that, to have that death for us so that we can spend eternity with him. And so if you haven't given your life to Christ tonight and you want to, in a second, I'm going to lead us in a prayer to where you can join that and experience that peace that each one of these guys has, because ultimately that is the point, right? We've talked about it a lot. We want you to join that community, to join that and to feel that peace. And so if you would bow your head with me tonight, and if this is something that you would like to do for the first time, just repeat after me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the way that you created me. Thank you for my identity as a child of God, that it is not found in these things that will not fulfill me. But Lord, tonight, after hearing these players talk, I want to experience that peace, and that peace that only you can provide, God. I've been searching, and I haven't been able to find the answer. So Lord, tonight, I recognize that I fall short, and I will never be enough. And that's okay, because you are enough. And you have bridged that gap for us to walk across and enter into a relationship with you. And so tonight, I give my life to you, Jesus, and I want to live for you. And I want to live my life as a model and to really dive in and experience my calling as a child of God. And so tonight, we do that. And if this is something that you have never done before, and you've made this decision tonight, come over and talk to us and share this with us. We want to hear those stories. We want to enter a community with you and with this church, and we want to help nurture and grow that, because community is so important. So we give tonight in your name, and we do this all in your honor, Lord. Amen. Guys, give it up again for these guys up here on stage. Again, if this was the first time that you have made that decision, please come tell one of us. We want to hear that. We want to welcome you to the team and welcome you into that relationship. But thanks again for being here tonight. Hopefully we'll see you at Tales from the Dugout at Impact Church. And go enjoy the Waste Management Open.